With no further ado, I am going to have Tamika Brown, who's head of the African American Studies or Ethnic Studies Department. What we're going to do here is remember one basic thing. What did we say was important about politics? Economics is very highly at the top. Control and power. And you can't have control and power if you don't have control of your economics, your economic base. So with that, let me set my wonderful little self down and allow you guys to come forward. Let's give them a hand.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Carol Ward Allen. You guys know she started the Ethnic Studies Department about 40 years ago. This place wouldn't be here today had it not been for her efforts. And we're actually adding a second African American Studies position this semester. We have a full-time Mexican Latin American Studies instructor. We have a full-time Asian American Studies instructor. So this is unique to the community colleges because most do not have departments in ethnic studies. So we have an opportunity to really talk about things that are relevant to our community. And economics has always been a key. It's been a key in civil rights from the 1800s all the way through the 1960s. We missed that opportunity in the 1960s for economic justice. In fact, that's what Dr. King was working on before he was assassinated, was the Poor People's Campaign. He wanted a living wage, not a minimum wage, for all Americans. And so economic justice is the new civil rights. And today we have the pleasure of hearing from an entrepreneur who started at the community college level, right in the seats that you're sitting in, and worked his way up to get his bachelor's degree and to start several businesses, and he's been very successful at it. He's also personal to me. He's my big brother, and I'm so happy to have him here today. He's written a book to give back to the community, and it's called The Anatomy of an Entrepreneur. And this is going to give you the keys and tools that you need in order to be successful, not only in business for yourself. Say you go and work for corporate America, but in your own personal finances. How do we get some bootstraps so that we can pull ourselves up? Because they took away our boots and told us to pull ourselves up. So we need to gather this knowledge for ourselves, for our families, so that we can come out of poverty and start living the life that our ancestors died for us to do. Okay, so without further ado, Daryl Osborne. All right.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to thank Professor Brown for inviting me up today to talk about my book. We go back a long ways, obviously. Again, my name is Darrell Osborne. I am the CEO of Osborne Building and Development. I'm the author of the book, Anatomy of an Entrepreneur. I graduated from Cal State University Long Beach with a degree in engineering. And like she said before, I started in community college my first 2 years, majoring in liberal arts. Then I transferred to Cal State Long Beach where I got my degree. I bought some copies up here. They're $5 each. You can't purchase a copy today. The book is available on Amazon.com. There's also a Kindle version available as well. Now, to get started, I need some volunteers.
How much is the book?
$5. Okay. I'm gonna give you each $25,000. Any volunteers? Raise your hands up high. These are $25,000 bills. Do me a favor. Can you pass these out to everybody? Okay, I want to get everybody involved. This is the scenario. You just graduated from college. You're making $50,000 a year. What would you do with that $25,000? What would you do? Get a pen out on the back of that bill. Write down what you would do. You just graduated from college. You're making $50,000 a year. What would you do with that $50,000 a year? While you do that, I'm gonna tell you what I did with my $25,000. I bought my first house. I recall it was a fixer-upper. This is all in the book too, by the way. This was back in the 80s. My mother gave me $4,000. That was 30 years ago. That same $4,000 now is worth $25,000 based on the inflation. That's why I'm giving you $25,000. Again, what would you do? Now, I took my $4,000 and I built it into a multi-million-dollar development corporation. If you had told me 25, 30 years ago I'd be doing what I'm doing right now, I would have laughed at you. Now, what would you all do? Any volunteers? Who wants to go first?
I pay back my student loans.
Oh, student loans, okay.
I pay back my student loans and then I do my startup business. I came up with, finished paying for my patent. I
Yeah.
patented the idea for a GPS for the walking stick for the blind. So they would have an earpiece, so they'll know where they're going. That will be connected to the stick. So I've already paid for my provisional patent. So it takes a year to 2 years for a federal patent to be launched.
This is great. We got our first entrepreneur. Wow. Who's next? Who else? What would you do? You have $25,000. You got your first job, $50,000 a year. What would you do? Who else?
Oh, I'm already cool.
You don't know what you'll do? Well, let me tell you something else I did. I recall I used aircraft. I was sitting at my desk. This woman came into my office. This is in the book too. And she said, Daryl, have you thought about doing a coin-op laundry? I said, no, never thought about doing a coin-op laundry. But when I was in college, I remember going to coin-op laundries. Have you been to coin-op laundries? Never been to a coin-op laundry? A coin-op laundry?
Put your laundry, you know, you go
Quarters, nickels and dimes, quarters, a slide machine, you wash your clothes, self-service laundromats.
He said laundromat. He said
A coin-op laundromat.
laundromat, bro.
Laundromat, coin-operated laundromat. Oh, wow. Coin-op laundry. Okay, I'm sorry if I get a little excited about laundromat. So what I did was, I said, no, I've never thought about buying a co-op laundromat. So I went back to my office, I did the numbers, and those quarters adds up big time. When I did the math, those things would make as much as $25,000, $30,000 a month. I said, no, this can't be true. And I kept crunching the numbers, and it kept coming back $25,000, $30,000 a month. So then I started going to coin-op laundry shows, going to all these conventions and whatnot, and then finally, I built myself a coin-op laundry. When I first opened up, I was grossing $15,000 a month. Excuse me, that was my net. I was grossing $35,000, $40,000. I was bringing home $15,000 a month. That's a lot of change. You guys got any more slips for them?
There isn't anymore.
Oh, okay. Anybody have any idea what you would do with your $25,000? Anybody? You wouldn't do nothing with your, oh, okay, we got one. What would you do?
I would invest it into stocks or something that can make my money grow for me.
That's good. Anybody else? Buy a new car. Oh, buy a new car. You? You work in film? Okay, good. So you wrote on the back of your card. Let me tell you something I did. When I first got out of college, I did what she said. I bought a new car. And to this day, I regret it. And I'll tell you why. I was an engineer making about 30-some thousand a year, which was good money at the time. And when you do the math, I was paying $350 a month for 5 years. That's about $21,000 over a 5-year period. I take that same money, drive my same car around, and take the money and invest, stock, real estate, bonds, mutual funds. What would you be if I would have did that? And everybody wants to be in a new car. Everybody wants to do it. But let me take it one step further. Your parents don't have $25,000 to give you. Then what do? You do what I just said. You take your $50,000 a year salary and get a who got a calculator? Take the calculator out, take $50,000 times 20%. What is that? Anybody know? Everybody crack your numbers?
20 grand.
That's more than that. Got it out?
Calculator, you said $50,000?
Times 20%. $10,000 a year. $10,000 a year. Now, if you take that same $10,000,
Is that before taxes or after taxes?
that's before taxes.
Okay.
And you pay yourself first. You got to pay yourself first. Get in the habit of paying yourself first. Do not go out there and charge up your credit cards and cell phones, new cars, things of that nature. Pay yourself first. And in 2.5 years, guess what? You got $25,000. Now again, I need more input. Who else have an idea with their $25,000?
Invest in an independent African school.
Oh, that's interesting. How would you do that?
Well, I would go in first to see how the program is working. That's actually what I like. So, see how the program is working, what they need, if they need books, if they need a full-time teacher. See how I can just expand that, let that grow.
What did you say first? I can't hear you.
I said invest in an independent African-centered school.
No, as we talk about this stuff, if you have any questions for me, feel free to ask. Now, who else got an idea about their $25,000? What would you do with it? Anybody? $25,000 is a gift, and you wouldn't. What would you do? A food truck. Oh, how would you do that?
First off, we got to find out what kind of truck I would need, how much it would cost, and what kind of food I'm going to be selling, and like what market I'll be catering to.
Oh, good, good. Now, on that $25,000 bill I gave you, you will see two items. One bill will say, do these things before you're 40. Another one would say, entrepreneur, key to success. The first one, do these things before you're 40, it says, thou shalt do thy homework. Know what you're getting yourself into. When you're an entrepreneur, you know, we are risk takers, but you still must do your homework. So do these before you're 40, do your homework. Develop your own style. Now, do you wear a suit and tie? Now, this is also good for corporate America. Do you do your own, do you wear suit and ties to work? Do you wear sweats to work every day? Whatever your style is, you do it. Also, develop your own management style. Are you a hands-on manager or hands-off manager? I'm a hands-off manager until it's time to become a hands-on manager. When the job is not getting done to my satisfaction, I'm hands-on again, and I'm bouncing you out the door. Because remember, you're running a business here. Know your weaknesses. Know what you cannot do. But then know your strengths too. What am I good at doing? What am I proficient at doing? Also, have your I quit money. But today it's called just got laid off money, because most people get laid off these days. Put together a successful network. People around you, and for me, as a general contractor developer, I put together a crew that's been with me for the last 25 years. It's all in the book, by the way. I call them up. They're very good at what they're doing, and all I gotta do is, I need this done, that done, it gets done. Great network. Also, this is key. Learn how to delegate. You cannot do everything yourself. It's not gonna happen. You gotta put people around you that's competent and good, and trust them. If they can't get the job done, they can't work for you, period. This is another, this is almost paramount. Thou shalt keep thy mouth shut. Don't tell people your plan. Don't tell people what you're doing. All they're gonna do is, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. They're gonna be hating on you. Just keep your plan to yourself. When you find like-minded people who thinks like you do, hey, well, look, I'm gonna start this Quant Laundry, what do you think? Hey, I'm gonna go out and start buying these Raggedy houses and flipping them, what do you think? Oh, well, that's cool. So you keep your mouth shut until it's time to open your mouth. Any questions thus far? Very quiet class. Okay, this is also key. Thou shalt keep thy finances in order. I can't tell you. I own apartment buildings, and when I build condominiums, when I sell them, I have kids coming in with destroyed credit. Protect your credit at all costs. Don't go out there and buy these ridiculous cell phone contracts, credit cards, fancy new cars, and end up defaulting. It destroys your credit. Yes, ma'am.
Miss J, I should not work shift.
Yeah, yeah,
God.
yeah. I'm gonna come back to that one. That's interesting. But I thought
Yeah, I want to know why you skipped.
Oh, okay. Well, This is about mentorship. This is in the book too. Develop a loyalty to one of your bosses. So if he gets laid off, he'll bring you with you. To develop loyalty with your business leaders, and as they grow, you will grow with them. But that's farther down the pipe. But I wanted to focus on the financing part because that's where most kids end up destroying their lives with the credit thing. How many of you have credit cards right now? You have balances? Big balances? Okay. If you do decide to use credit cards, make sure you pay them off at the end of each month because you want to protect your credit. You got to protect your credit. Okay, next, the entrepreneur's key to success. Notice how I got that homework thing in again, but the first one is too quick to quit. When you start your truck business with the food thing, at the first sign of trouble, don't run scared and hide and say, I quit. You know, this is in the book too. When you start your business, you're going to have some bumps in the road. You got to learn how to get through those bumps. There is a time when you say when. When I had my laundromat, 7 years into it, they kept opening new stores around mine. So my income went from $25,000, $30,000 a month down to $15,000 a month. I was losing money. No matter what I did, it was not going to come around. So I had no choice. I had to close the doors. But I was in business for 7 years. I made a lot of money too, by the way. So there is a point in time where you say when. That's why I say too quick to quit. Give success a chance. And again, notice I got in here, do your homework. Always do your homework. Always. And again, I have this, have your finances in order. The next one is do self-evaluations. Be hard, but be fair. Am I doing a good job? Am I doing a bad job? Am I making money? Am I losing money? What can I do to improve my business? Because you're here to make money, you're not here to lose money. If you lose money, you're not going to be in business too long. So do yourself, give yourself self-evaluations. Commitment. You must be committed to your business. If you're not committed to your business and go on a party every week, you can't grow your business. Grow your business. Honesty. I can't tell you how many people, I watch this program called American Greed on CNBC, and they talk about people who scam people for millions of dollars. You know, you got to have some kind of integrity when you decide to go into business for yourself. Wrong is wrong and right is right. Always do the right thing. Again, that's in the book as well. Keep a winning attitude. When you go into the business, this is going to work. This is going to win. I do not know how to fail. This will always, you will always keep this winning attitude, and you will always win. Be persistent and relentless. Do not stop. When a person tells you no, you do not ask them the right question. What do you mean no? I didn't do this right now. You don't understand. I need a positive response. You got to be persistent about it. Any more questions? Any questions so far? No questions. Okay. Next one. Do not procrastinate. Never put today off for tomorrow. I keep on hearing people, well, I'll go back to school next year. I'll go back to school year after that. Well, I'll look for a job tomorrow. I'll look for the job next week. You can't put today off for tomorrow. You got to stay vigilant and keep your eye on the prize. On-time attitude. You got to be on time. You set meetings and appointments. You can walk in late. It shows that, well, maybe he or she does not care about this business like I do. So you got to have that on-time type attitude. Now, I want to take some time just to kind of go through the book a little bit about some of my ventures. I recall how I got involved in condominiums. When I first started, again, this is in the book too, I didn't know what a condominium was. I had bought this property in Inglewood, and I went down to the city and said, look, I want to build 4 apartment buildings. And not knowing nothing from nothing, I talked to the guy, and he said, Daryl, have you ever thought about doing condominiums? I said, no. And I said, what's that? And then he said, well, it's kind of like an apartment building, but they're subdivided, and you can sell each one separately. So you can take this $250 building and sell it for $500,000. Ooh, eyes got real big then. I mean, real big. So then I went back home to my office, and I did the math. Wow, I can make an additional $250,000 by building condominiums. That was interesting. And that all came on a whim. Again, any more questions? Yes, ma'am.
How, as far as the investing, when did you get into the building and construction part? So how did that, you're investing in that, there's risk, where do you get the startup?
You know, that is an excellent question. That's an excellent question. And I'll tell you how I did it. On my first house, it's in the book, I bought it, again, at $88,000. I rehabbed it and I added on a room, did it all myself. I refinanced it and I pulled out $35,000 cash. I took that $35,000 and I bought another fixer-upper, fixed it up, and I sold it. On that deal, I made $45,000. I took another fixer-upper and built it, rehabbed it and sold it. I made another $45,000. Next thing I know, I was making more money flipping houses than I was as an engineer. And again, I said, whoa, this is getting good. So that's how I got started. Now, don't get me wrong, corporate America, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you have an inkling or some kind of idea brewing in your mind, take a chance. That's why I say, you got to keep your finances up, because I had to get loans when I got to my developments to do these multi-million-dollar projects. I would have cash and buy the land, but I need the financing to build the building out. Then once I pay the financing, all the difference was my profit. And there's pretty large profits involved. So it was very, very, very good.
So you bought the land, then you bought the property?
No,
Or did you buy the land and then build onto the property?
Now, when I first got started, I was buying, again, it's in the book, I was buying these raggedy houses all boarded up that nobody wanted. Sometimes, again, this is in the book too, when people see a raggedy house, I will never buy that, I never buy that. But remember, I'm an entrepreneur. I see potential where others see peril. So I went in there and tore all the boards off, putting the windows in. This is an existing house. I did this is when I first started, existing house. And I basically fixed it up. The first one I lived in for another 4 or 5 years. When I finally sold it, I bought it at $88,500 and I sold it for around $245,000. And again, it's in the book too. So I walked off with about $125,000 in a 3 or 4 year period. So,
So did you ever buy the land, is what I'm trying to ask you?
Yeah.
After you acquired, flipping the houses, did you buy the land and then start building the condominiums on the land, so it automatically made it yours?
Yes, what I did was this. I would go out and purchase land zoned R3.
Right.
And if it had a house, I would knock down the house, make it a vacant lot. Then I would have my architect design me 4 condos. But the question is, yes, I would take vacant land and build these structures on it.
Because it was cheaper that way, right?
For me, it was. Yes, it was. And then once I, bought the land, knocked down the house, built the condos, then I sold them each one. That's how I made the profits.
And in building the networks, did these people, like the architects that you know, come from, were your classmates were engineering, or in what arenas did you put yourself in to create these networks?
Another great question. How I got started was I looked in the papers, and I found an architect, and then he didn't do it. Then I see getting referrals, and I kept on going around until I found the right person. And that one person turned out to be perfect because he has designed every building for me except for one. So it's when you find the right combination of people that work with you, you keep them on board. Once I found a good framer, I kept him on board. Once I found a good plumber, I kept him on board for years.
So you put yourself out there.
Yes.
Looking at researching newspapers.
Exactly. Again, for me, what's the penny safe is in the book. What I did the first time was I literally drove around, crisscrossed the streets looking for construction projects because I don't think guys are good enough. So I'll go look at what the work they're doing. I said, well, that guy's good. So I said, hey, I'm building this over here. Come take a look and give me a price. That's how I started getting my subcontractors involved.
Okay, speaking for myself right now, I'm having an issue with manufacturing because I don't want my manufacturing to be done overseas. I want the money to stay here in the United States so it can help the people here in the United States versus me sending it and they make my prototype over in Indonesia or China where they're gonna pay them much less money and not help my people. And that's the whole reason why I started this. So my question to you is, there's not that many companies in the United States. So how do I stay loyal to me being an American and keeping my money here in America and becoming a successful entrepreneur and a business person that help the medical industry, which is what I set out to do?
Great question. I was in China last April, and I was in Hong Kong last October. China is vast, and the next 100 years, we will be speaking Chinese if we don't change our act. That's how powerful it was. I was simply shocked how the manufacturing realm in China is. In America, we have this minimum wage issue that's going on that you guys hear about all the time. All the rich people don't want to pay. What's the minimum wage out here? I don't. $7. And I guess the president. And the manufacturing people, that's what drives our economy, those kind of jobs. That's what powers this powerful economy. And if we don't get on board, we're going to be shut out. We're going to be shut out. And when I was over there, especially in Hong Kong, they make all these solar batteries and whatnot. The manufacturing is just vast. It was almost scary. And it's a good question in the sense that, what do we do to keep those jobs here?
Exactly.
Well,
I mean, you used to buy iron, and on the iron it would say made in the United States.
General
There
Electric.
is no longer that. General Electric still is one of the major manufacturers here. That's one of the companies I'm thinking about
Yeah.
for this product. But the only difference is that they only have one major warehouse.
Well, the problem is that our government give companies incentive to send jobs or send manufacturing abroad versus keeping them here. So we got to go and start voting and change out these Congress people and that kind of thing. Because until our government get on board, I think Barack's on board, but we're dealing with a Republican Congress that seem to want to stop anything he wants to do for the minimum wage back. And it just burns me to no end when you got people working 40 hours a week and can't maintain the way of life. There's just something wrong with that. Fundamentally, something wrong with that.
So did you, when you say you got your architects and people from construction site, a lot of the people that are apprentices, did you just use straight contractors?
Straight subcontractors. I found people that were licensed, knew what they were doing, because at the time, I was still working at Hughes Aircraft. I was an engineer there. So I was working during the daytime and then get off work and go do my thing after work. So I had to find people that were competent, that can do their own thing without me sitting there watching them all day. So that's why I said you got to develop a successful network of people who you trust, who know what they're doing. You don't sit there and babysit all day long. But that's a good question. Yes, ma'am.
Couple questions. One, do you recommend that they look at shows like Flip This House? Or, on some stations they have the food channel says how to start your own business, your own restaurant, or how to, just how you can save money and decorate, that kind of thing. And finally, I hope if you get a chance, how did you publish your own book?
Yes, I did.
And how, maybe they might be interested in understanding, because that in itself is quite a feat that you published your own book. They took advantage of that.
I'll take the last question first. Yes, I went through Amazon.com. There's a subdivision of the company called Create Spaces. I actually wrote this book myself, an engineer. I had no idea I can write like I could until I started writing the book. And thank God for spell check, because engineers, we can't spell. And when you read the book, you'd be surprised. As I wrote it, I thought back on those days when I first started out, man, I did a lot of stuff, you know, and I tried to put it all in order and to make it flow right. So even though I was working at Hughes Aircraft, but I was also had a laundromat for 7 years. I bought apartment buildings. I was doing developments. I was doing all this stuff at one time. And to put that in a way that is understandable was very difficult. Was very difficult, but I think I did it. I think that these are for $5. You know, I think it's worth it. I think that if you read this book, you will get something out of it. Online, it's like $15 with shipping, but it's not about the money. It's about getting the word out. Getting the word out. What was your your first question?
About, well, let me just say this. Anybody in the class who wants a book, paying for it. Okay?
I'm sorry?
I said, anybody in the class who wants one of your books, I'll pay for it.
Oh.
Okay? The next thing is.
Well, dang, hey, hey. Wow.
That's probably $5. I'm telling you. Okay. But anyway.
Keep it in a happy meal.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Literally.
But the other thing
You get more out of this than Happy Meal.
because I just say, you know, I just have to say this. I love seeing, most of the time we have African American women, you know, in here doing a lot of this, and I always think it's wonderful to see a brother doing it. That's number one. Two, I hope that all of you in here understand how powerful it is. Now, he is an engineer, so I don't want you going away thinking, oh God, he's an engineer. He can do it because he's really, really brilliant, and I'm dumb and I can't do it. You can do it too. I just want to just some kind of way let you know that you're capable. I love the idea of him talking about having his own food truck. That is a going thing, and I love that whole idea.
Just starts with an idea. It's just all entrepreneurs, we're risk takers, and all starts with an idea. And your question was, you know, I'm not saying that you should go out and buy fixer-upper houses and sell them. That's what I did. You might want to do the food truck. You might want to do your cultural center. You might want to start a detailing business. You might want to start a restaurant. But whatever it is, you got to change your core mindset. Remember, when I was in college, I was groomed for corporate America. They taught me how to dress with the suit and tie, the perfect resume, how to talk, how to present yourself. I had 10 offers come out of college, 10. I can pick and choose where I wanted to go, and I took the highest bidder. I sold out. But not all of you will have that kind of opportunity. Today, jobs are shrinking. The middle class is getting smaller and smaller. But they're not going from middle class to rich. They're going middle class to poor. The poor is doing this. The middle class is doing this. The rich are staying like this. They stay constant. They don't want you up here with them. So we got to think of a product or a service that people are willing to pay for to maintain your way of life, whatever it is.
Okay, I was advised to also make my company an LIC, so have people on the board. So what do you think about that?
I have that in the book as well. A friend of mine started a communications company, basically selling direct TV, dish TV, that kind of things. Whenever you start a corporation or an LLC, you're taking the liability away from yourself and putting it into the corporation. So if they sue you, well, then go after your personal assets. But if you have an LLC or a corporation, you're protected. If you're a sole proprietorship, you're part of that proprietorship, they can go after you. That's why I recommend in the book that you separate yourself from your business. For example, you driving down the street with your little truck and you hit a kid, kill him. They can sue you personally if you are sole proprietorship. But if you, what's your name? Willie. If you Willie Incorporated, they can't sue you. They can sue the corporation, but they can't sue you. So whenever you start doing some of these businesses, as you grow, because when I first started, I started out as a sole proprietorship because I was small. As I started to grow, I went to a corporation because now I'm doing multi-million-dollar projects. And of course, as a general contractor and builder, everybody wants to sue you for defects.
Right.
So I'm a corporation now.
So do you have a personal liability within yourself and then one with the corporation, or do you just have one liability?
I am Osborne Building Development, a corporation. I am CEO. So they can't sue me as an individual. My house, my personal assets are protected. They can only sue my corporation. So if they come in and say, well, you know, Daryl, you know, we built these condominiums and they leak like a sieve and there's structural defects and I'm suing this, suing that for $100 million. I'll just bankrupt the corporation and walk away. But I also have liability insurance, so I'm just saying that's
Yeah,
the worst.
what
That's
I'm
worst
saying.
case. That's
So
the worst case.
The
homework.
liability insurance covers just the corporation and not yourself.
No, well, yes, because the liability insurance is for the corporation, exactly.
How do you know if something's a good idea, like to invest in or not?
Do your homework. Remember which one do you have?
The second one, I
yeah.
would like the first
Yeah, do your homework. Do your research. Go to the library. Google. I mean, you guys got it all the tip of your tongue. I mean, tip of your fingers. When I was in school, we had to go to a encyclopedia, the library. You guys just pull your phone out and goo-doo-doo, and there it is. Do your homework. Very, very important. Crunch the numbers. I was going to start a beauty salon before I did the laundromat thing. And I remember going out, doing my homework. I was going to find a strip center with a vacant space. I was going to put in 20 booths, rent those booths out for $500 booth. Do the math. 500 times 20, what, $10,000? The rent was only like $1,200 a month, utilities. I was going to clear $8,000 a month. I said, whoa, this is cool. But then the laundromat came up. That was even cooler. So I chose the laundromat. So my advice to you is do your homework. Know exactly what you're getting yourself into.
Right.
And don't take me. Talk to people too, but do your own research. You have any in mind what you would do? What would you do?
I thought I would make a film.
You make a film. Okay, so start hanging around Hollywood. Go down there and see how they put a film together. Take some film classes, media classes? Media classes. That was a good film too, by the way. That was up there, yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, you can go to the Black Repertoire Theater and learn a whole lot.
That's a great question too, because a lot of people don't know that. I know a lot of my friends who started their own business. They didn't last because they didn't follow those steps. I had a buddy that said, dang, Oz, I want to be a general contractor or a builder just like you. So he got his license and he's out there driving nails, and he's not as good as people do all the time. He was constantly getting sued, constantly. I was saying, hey, dude, you got to delegate this stuff to people who know what they're doing. Well, I can't afford this because, I need all the money I can get. I said, you can't afford not to. Because right now, while you're out here building, you can be, I'm out there trying to find other projects to do. And you can do the same thing too. So it's very important that you do your homework, what you're getting yourself into, and then delegate stuff. Things you can do yourself, delegate. If you can't balance the books or you know nothing about accounting, get yourself an accountant. Need legal advice? Talk to an attorney. That kind of thing. How much time do I have left? No, I just want to know if there's any more questions, because again, I don't want to just keep. I want to. What you're thinking?
Well, one of the things that I'm often concerned about or thinking about is the difference between like STEM and the social sciences or the liberal arts. And the liberal arts, we're taught that write your papers or do your homework and listen to lectures. We're not necessarily building things in the same way that some STEM majors are. So we tend to start businesses less than STEM majors like science, technology, engineering, and math. And so I'm just wondering, like, how do you graduate, even someone graduating from Laney College, how do you graduate with a major in Africana studies and then go directly into starting a business without that training? It just seems difficult.
Like I said before, when I first started, I started out at community college too. Out of high school, I was a mess. I was a mess. I was a mess. And I went to a community college for 2 years. I got an AA degree in liberal arts. But then, it's this in the book too. I went to Cal State Long Beach. My brother was at San Jose State. My buddy was at San Diego State. So I want to go there. I want to do my own thing. So I literally stumbled into it. And I wrote it in the final chapter of the book. I didn't plan to be an engineer. I just walked down the main drag at Cal State Long Beach, and I ended up in front of the engineering building. I walked inside, looked at the course catalog, and said, "Woo, I can do this," and I did it. Now your question is, let's say you want to stop at community college level and then do your thing. I would say stay in school, and I'll tell you why. Because I put in the book, I had $37 in the bank, in the book, but I had a degree. And I took that degree, and I built it into what I have today. Because that formal training, that perseverance, going to class every day, getting up on time, doing your homework, that boom, 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 boom. 'Cause that's what college to me teaches you, but teaches you, how to be responsible too. Structure. So if you're contemplating on stopping at community college, I would say finish, my opinion, finish. Some good questions.
Can I also add to that you can major in African American studies and minor in business? And we're going to be adding more and more entrepreneurial classes. In fact, it's going to be an initiative of our chancellor as well.
Yes, Dr. Al?
Let him speak first, but I just wanted to bring up a couple things.
Who had a question? Anybody had a question? Oh, yes, ma'am. Oh, yeah.
I have another question, sorry, but so I went to a hackathon, and my team won the hackathon, and we developed an app called Help Circle, and I'm liberal arts, Africana studies, like my major. I love writing and I love people, but I've been having such a hard time with these like entrepreneurial skills and ideals and networking and writing press reports. It's all very, very difficult for me, and part of it is because I don't know, maybe I didn't get it enough in undergrad, but even like waking up every day and working on it instead of working on other projects and dividing my time amongst everything. And right now technology is such a big thing, everybody's using it, and we have the skills and the resources right now to be able to develop things like our own apps or our own web pages and things like that, but I'm still really struggling with these entrepreneurial skills, and I appreciate this thing here that you've given us because
Delegate. Know your strengths, know your weaknesses. You know what you're good at, know what you're not good at. Things you're good at, you can do yourself. Things you're not good at, maybe find somebody you can partner up with. I wanted to do partnerships, but partner with somebody that's good at what they can do. And then, things you can't do, find somebody who can do. That's what this what got me through 30 years. I'm a multimillionaire by this. I got this article, do these things from Jewel Diamond Taylor when I was 23 years old at Hughes. I went to one of her Food for Thought workshops, and she passed that article out. It's in the book. In fact, I put the original copy of the article she gave me. I still got it 32 years old. It's in the book. This is the original article she gave me. And when I read it, I was like, wow, this is deep. Wow. Do your homework, know your own style, have your sexual and emotional life in order, weaknesses, strengths. I quit money. Remember, I'm 23 years old. I'm saying, wow, this is great stuff. But you're right. Think about this. What you can do, what you can't do. And delegate. Or team up and partner. Any more questions? I think that's it, huh? I think that's about time for.
Well, when you were mentioning what would you do with your money, I just wrote this down, so if I'm wrong, you can please.
Never wrong.
No I said that immediately I would buy maybe a couple of CDs, and I put that in because everybody gets to hear, they're purchasing a different kind of CD. But I would purchase a certificate of deposit, a couple of CDs and maybe possibly have them go. I don't know how they're working right now, but a few years ago we used to get them a little.
Yeah, CDs are getting.
Depends on what kind of CD it is.
They're getting hammered right now. CDs are like 1%, 2%. Because you want to have access to your money, but you put in a CD, it's tied up. Right. So I would recommend at your age money market. I invested it in my daughter and son's college fund in the money market. I did. It's called American Fund, investment company. Paid 16% for years. I sent my daughter to college and I sent my son to college on it too. I wouldn't do now CDs. I would say mutual funds. Those who anybody play the stock market in here? Stock market, anybody? Oh, okay. I do the stock market too.
business, I can make $10,000 each client.
I don't know about nonprofits. I'm for profit. I'm here to make money.
But, but what I'm saying is.
If I ain't getting paid, I ain't doing it.
Right, and what I'm saying is, and what that did was, they wrote me off at the end of the year, and I wrote them off at the end of the year, so I never owed the government.
You know, let me say this too about corporations. I'm a corporation, but all my losses and profit flows through me. So let's say I lost $100,000 last year.
Right.
And then, because remember, corporations is a big tax shelter for the rich.
Right.
And I'm telling you, it's almost criminal, but it's all legal. They do it all the time. I know.
Exactly.
I pay myself $100,000 a year through my corporation, and guess what? That's an expense.
Right.
I write it off.
Right.
But now, if you're a sole proprietorship, guess what? You get zapped. So you got to understand the tax system. You know, there's a lot of things about this entrepreneurship, but as you get older and you experience more, you will learn. When I came through, I had nobody to show me the way. It was called the School of Hard Knocks. And I got my head bumped a lot. When you read this book, you'll see all my head bumpings. I lost a lot of money. In one project I did, I lost over $1 million. Not because I did something bad. The economy tanked. In '08, I just finished building a complex, and when the mortgage meltdown hit, I had just finished putting them on the market. I was selling $400,000 to $500,000 a unit. I had a cigar this long. Man, I was happy. And then first Washington Mutual folded, and then IndyMac folded, and when Lehman Brothers went down, I was toast. I was sitting there on $4 million worth of houses and couldn't move none of them with a big loan to pay off. So I had to get creative. So as an entrepreneur, you got to figure things out. So what I did was, to get through all this, I simply leased them all out. Rent them out for $2,500 a month, times 12 units, do the math. So I turned something potentially a disaster into something good. The drop side of it, when the economy finally started coming back out of it, went from $500,000 a unit to $300 a unit. Now take 200,000 times 12. $2.5 million. That's a big hit. So, but I got through it. So you can take your good with your bad. Any more questions? Don't look all shocked. I mean, we're human. You've been a great class. Give yourself a big hand.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the you know, academia is, I mean, at its foundation, disregards the Black experience, right? I mean, that's, you know, the change in the tune is, you know, us becoming a part of the, you know, becoming a part of these institutions, right? We've historically always been disregarded, you know? Our experience, our history, our literature, our arts have, you know, historically been disregarded. So, you know, the resistance is nothing new, right? The resistance is nothing new. And I guess some, like, current day iterations, you know, you could speak to this, you know, I mean, the cutting of ethnic studies programs, the merging of ethnic studies programs with other programs. As far as street lit and the resistance to it, and to the teaching of it, you know, one thing I found in putting this collection together, while I think it's a, you know, quite an accomplishment on all our parts to bring this book forward, you know, I'm hoping that, you know, in the future we can have a second volume, whether I'm a part of it or not, that greatly expands on what we were able to do, because a lot of people wouldn't give me the time of day, you know. You know, for every one scholar that was a part of the book, you know, that's like 10 rejections, you know. And so there's, you know, there's a way that, you know, it's still not seen as serious enough to merit, you know, scholarly interest, right? You know, I think that in general, it's not seen. We're on TV here. We're getting recorded here. So I think in general, it's not seen as like a, you know, high mark on, you know, the scorecard of your academic resume at this point. I think that Khalid's right that it's going to be, that this book is going to be a watershed moment in that, but it takes a while for things to happen, right? And being at the forefront of something isn't always the most advantageous place to be, in terms of the market and all that. Yeah.
With the book, I'm just concerned about the assimilating as a black man or a black person coming into academia, into school. It's all right for me to come in and assimilate into education, but leave my blackness at the door.
Mm-hmm.
And that I have some problem with that because my experience is just as rich, and I'm wondering if the book is just if your book is meeting resistance like that, that it's good to have academics, but it's bringing too much of the black experience into the educational piece and into resistance.
Yeah.
Literally, you have to leave your blackness at the
Yeah,
door.
I mean,
You can do academic stuff, but that's just on the side.
if I gave you a long answer, the short answer is yes, right? Yeah.
So, in the alley, then a couple rows next to Katie, I'm sorry, or Katie herself.
I just wanted to go back to two or three questions or statements ago when Cleavon talked about how do we sensitize our educators to this type of literature, and it made me think about a problem that I see with understanding Black people in particular and their intellect. So often their intellectual potential is equated to their intellectual experience, where their level of academics is seen as equal to their intellectual potential, which is so not the case. For various reasons in our experience, we stop our educational experience at this level, but our potential is infinite. And I see a lot of educators not closing that gap or treating them as the same. And so they treat students in that very polite way that Cleavon talked about. And that is very unfortunate. And what seems to need to occur is an entire paradigm shift in the way people think about intellect and academic levels so that they can open up the gates and really be able to help someone move forward. Because if you look at someone and you think this is who they are, this is what they have, and they're not capable beyond this point, then the mind is closed to that student. I've seen that a lot, where academic level and academic potential is seen as the same thing, and it is so not. Because there are people in my family, in my father's generation and my father's parents' generations, who worked in fields and only got to a certain level of reading and writing. So they spoke a certain way, and they read at a certain level, but their potential, given the opportunity, was so far beyond that. But that part of their experience or potential experience was not seen, was not relevant.
It reminds me of I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings, when Maya Angelou's neighbor next door, when she was young in Arkansas, said, be careful not to confuse book smarts with head smarts or something of that sort. And so, but what you're talking about right there really resonates with that constant story. It's almost like a trope in the sense that of the story of marginalized people in the United States. And I guess part of what that brought me back to is this idea of, we talked about street lit as this gateway to academia. And I guess the question that I have is just addressing the sense that, it can be a very transgressive kind of gateway, or it can be almost an unproductive gateway of sorts. And the question, I guess, is like, how do we treated as a gateway to actualization, self-actualization, rather than a gateway to acculturation. And I really appreciated what you were in your essay, how you were writing. It transcends one particular gender. It transcends one particular ethnic group, and so you mind sharing a little bit more about that, because I think when we're talking about street lit and the Black experience, what we're really talking about is the experience of the academy not really ever being a place for actualization, but a place to mobilize a workforce to acculturate and drive the state economy.
Let's see how I can think about that one. Well, I look at street lit and its practical use in terms of self-actualization. From a personal standpoint, for me, writing in a book or writing a book was something I always had wanted to do, right? Something I had aspired to do. Never really took it seriously in terms of doing it until I got the chance to write on a topic that I understood, a topic that I could feel intrinsically and internally, and this was the topic of street lit. That's why I jumped on the opportunity to do it. And so, in terms of self-actualization, from a personal standpoint, hey, I finally realized this was something that was it was real. I saw my name in a book that was published, right? And hopefully this won't be the last time. So I think that in terms of self-actualization, the genre of street lit has only become as big as it has because people who probably had this aspiration before were able to produce these books, and now was a $300 million kind of business now. So it's really, the street lit genre is all about self-actualization, because most, from my understanding, started off selling books out of the trunk of their car. Most are people who, some are people who wrote from prison. Some are people who never went past the 8th grade. Some are people who, in all conventional senses, weren't supposed to make it, quote unquote. And so here they've made it into a viable genre, a viable means of self-sufficiency, and that in and of itself is self-actualization. So you take a marginalized group who still have, even though they don't have the on-paper skills, as the young lady in the crowd mentioned, their potential exceeded what was on paper, and so that's all about self-actualization, in my opinion.